This is Bettina, back with another episode of So Mind-Boggling Journeys. I'm here with Ekwa Msangi. She is the director of All My Friends Are Married, and we have Andrea Coleman, who is the lead actress of the series. And we're going to be chatting about what it's like to be an artist and to be able to take care of yourself, especially in a city like New York City. So one of the things that I talk to my artist friends about a lot is trying to balance, survival jobs and being able to pay the rent and buy groceries and keep the lights on with also pursuing whatever their craft is. And, here we have a situation where we have Ekwa, who is a freelancer who primarily focuses on her art and is able to figure out ways and different projects and gigs to be able to take care of her livelihood as well. And Andrea works full-time as a lawyer and is still able to audition for projects and still write. So can you talk about how you both maneuver both of those choices in terms of time and effort?
Sure. Well, let's see. I mean, for me, when I started working as an actor, like my first professional job, like it was kind of explained to me, like kind of the way you do it is you have to pay bills and then you also perform. And so I kind of always had the awareness that I would have to get paid in some capacity. And so my experience has been like, I've got these, I guess, two parts to me. Like, I'm a lawyer and I really enjoy that. I think it's really fun. Like, when I went to college, my intention was to major in, like, theater. But I really liked the government classes and political science classes and the economics classes. So even though I intended to major in, like, theater, I kind of just ended up majoring in government and just doing the theater, like, performing or acting and things, and I love that. Like, that to me is like the most fun. And so
to have a balance is the most fun.
Like so my experience is, I mean, this is the way I like it. I like that I'm a lawyer that tries cases and does all that, and then I also like that I'm somebody who gets to perform as well. I think, like, when I first moved here to New York, my idea was to just do theater. I hadn't taken the bar exam yet, so I wasn't wanting to do that. But then the way things worked, like, I wasn't getting paid to perform, so I knew I needed to make money, and I like to do things that are intellectually challenging, and so I took the bar and got a job working as a lawyer. The balance, it doesn't feel that challenging. I mean, there's a lot of downtime when you're in court. Like, I've written scripts while I'm waiting for a jury to come back for a verdict. I've written scripts while I'm, like, waiting for the judge to call up my case to argue a motion. There's a lot of downtime. And frankly, like, when I was living in Queens and working in Brooklyn, like, there was a lot of downtime to and from on the subway. So there was a ton of time to, like, write. There was a ton of time to, like, memorize a script. And I wasn't in a union, and I'm not in a union now. So most of the work that I would get as a performer was going to be evenings and weekends, because most of the people who were doing the project were in the same position as me. So I didn't really find it to be challenging in terms of a time commitment. So the balance actually hasn't been that challenging for me, and I do enjoy my day job. There have been times when I haven't enjoyed my day job, back when I was, like, temping, but those jobs didn't last very long. I wasn't enjoying them, and they probably weren't enjoying me either, so they were, like, short-lived experiences. But yeah, I enjoy it, and I find, like, the work that I do in my, like, day job gives me a lot of inspiration for the things that I write, and for my characters as well, and then like, motivation as an actor. I think I had, like, maybe a year where I was just an actor, and that's when I was, like, working at a Shakespeare theater in Florida and then another Shakespeare theater in DC, and then I was just, like, 100% just an actor, and that was a cool experience, but I haven't been able to duplicate that, and I don't even know if that's what I'm supposed to be doing. If that presents, will probably say yes to it. Absolutely, it sounds cool. But that's not the experience that I've had in quite some time.
Interesting to hear that. I didn't know. How do I make money? That's a great question. Do not know. Yeah, I went to film school. So I went to school with the agenda to be a full-time filmmaker, because, to be honest, I didn't know any better. And maybe at that time that it was a possibility, like that's what people did. You go to school for accounting so you could become an accountant. You go to school for filmmaking so you can become a filmmaker. And I, unlike a lot of the people that I went to school with, did not have any background. I had not worked on sets. I didn't have a favorite movie. I didn't have a favorite anything. Like, I was just wow. I'm here to make some films. I don't know how this happens. Show me what you do. And it was challenging. It was challenging not only because it was a really expensive school and filmmaking is challenging, but also from my background. I'm from East Africa. At that time, I did not know that African films existed, like African filmmakers existed, because on the continent we don't really. Well, now things are different, but at that time, growing up, we never had an opportunity to see each other's artwork, to see other African artwork. Our movie theaters only show, for the most part, American films and some Indian films. So it wasn't until my senior year that I even discovered that there were African filmmakers. So I was like, oh Lord, I'm gonna have to start it from scratch. I didn't know. And that certainly changed my perspective on things. But also the thing is, going to an art school, a film school, it's their job to make you feel like you're going to be successful when you leave. I mean, they can't be like, yo, you're going to be fucked. Like, they can't say that, And, it's not going to be the same challenge for everybody, but it is challenging. So the education I got was that everybody got was like, well, if you're talented, you will make fabulous films and your life will be wonderful. And if you're not doing that, then maybe you're just not that talented. That's kind of the message, the underlying message that a lot of us got. And as a result, a lot of the people that I went to film school with are no longer filmmakers, because we were primed for... I mean, I remember taking producing classes where we were learning how to break down $1 million budget or a $3 million budget. Nobody comes out of film school and just has like a $3 million budget given to them to do something. No one told us about low budget anything. So it's taken a while to figure out, okay, I have these skills that are shaped for $3 million and above situation, but none of the money that I have access to reflects that. And so therefore what?
Therefore what?
And, there are a lot of people who, I mean, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle for myself, and it's been a struggle for a lot of people. I had a few breaks, I've done some work on the continent. I've done some TV shows that at least allowed me to practice. And that's the other thing, too, coming out of film school or any profession, is that it's not like I walk up to a film set with my CV or with my certificate of graduation and say like, hey, listen, I graduated from NYU and I'm a director, so hire me. Nobody does that. They need to see my work. So if I don't have work, then I basically don't have a history. So I've spent the past, I would say 10 years, just really focusing on that. And, at first I was writing, that's kind of, okay, I can make work and I can write and still do other things, because writing is a little bit more of an individual practice. But yeah, who's going to read your scripts? You can't, a lot of like the bigger production companies or whatever, they don't just take scripts from the mail. You can't just mail stuff to people. Like, you need an agent, you need this, you need that. All right, so how am I going to get the script, people to see my writing is actually by directing it. I'm going to have to actually make my own stuff and not just go off of the promise that, like, if you gave me a lot of money, I could definitely make something good. Like, they need to see that I can do that and that I can produce my own work. And so that's what I've been working on for the past, I would say, certainly like the past 6 years. That's kind of been what my focus is like producing my own work, writing, directing, and producing my own work so that I can have a body of work that's out there that I can refer to. Mm-hmm. So that if I'm talking about a bigger project or a bigger budget or whatever it is, I can actually point at things that I've done as opposed to great ideas that I have.
Right. And do you think that has changed the conversation to be able to actually show people the work that you've made?
Well, I think, yes, in terms of, I think people take me more seriously, or, you know, my name has kind of traveled around in a few circles, and that's been great. Has anybody come with a huge check and, like, written? No, that hasn't quite happened yet. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of theories as to why that is or isn't. You know, I mean, funding is still controlled by certain groups of people. It's, you know, and filmmaking is not cheap. It's not a cheap exercise. So when you're asking people to invest in a dream, it's a little hard. And it's harder to do if I'm not investing in my dream on my own. You know, I can't ask you to invest in my dream, but I'm not investing in it. And so therefore, my decision to become a full-time artist, you know, I like money as much as anybody else. I love paying my bills. It's great, especially living in New York. It's hard to not be able to pinpoint exactly where my money is going to come from next month. But things have been working out pretty well. I'd say for at least 3 years, I've kind of been off the grid. I've done some teaching gigs here and there. I've done some gigs, you know. Some are longer gigs, a whole semester abroad or whatever it is, doing different things.
That big Cuba trip did you take?
Yeah, and that was great for the time that it was. But at the end of the day, you know, there are times when it's like I need to be traveling with my film. I can't afford to be in Cuba, so I'm not going to go to Cuba. Wow. You know, so there's a lot of decisions you kind of have to make because this is the baby and this is what I need to be doing. And so it's trying to organize ways. You know, it's a hustle. It actually is. You know, when I was a teenager thinking about becoming a filmmaker, all I knew was the glamour part of it, because that's what they show: the red carpet, the Oscars, the awards, the dresses. It's so not it's like being a construction worker. It's really, I mean, what I have to do to like keep my health up, to make sure that I can actually like be on my feet for 12 hours a day, talking to people and making decisions and get enough rest and my vitamins and all of that kind of stuff. It's complicated stuff, and it actually does require all of my focus. And so I don't have an answer for you as to where my source of money comes from. I put it out in the universe, and things have come to me, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm building, and I'm seeing the fruits of my labor paying off. I'd love it to be faster, but you know, everything takes the time that it takes for a reason. So I'm not mad.
There's something I want to say, but I don't know if it would get me in trouble, because I just feel like, because remember, like when we shot that movie, I was using the contacts that I have from this job to shoot it. You know, like the whole location was free because I know the guy who runs the deposition office.
No, you actually should talk about that.
That stuff is fun. I don't know. Does it seem interesting? I mean, I'm just thinking, like, I don't know.
Basically, what she's talking about is that.
How about you just talk about it and then you can decide later if it's
okay.
Okay. So how do you go about, like, one of the things that artists always talk about is resources, right? Like that is everything. Okay. What do you have access to? What can you afford? Usually not much. So then how do you go about getting things such as like a location or catering or wardrobe or a set designer? So do you want to speak to your experiences on how you've been able to get top quality talent and artists to work in those different various fields when you might not have had the budget to be able to, afford them? Like, how, do you do barter deals or what? Calling friends for favors?
Well, I do really like to pay people. I think that's really helpful because I feel like when you pay people, you're invested and they're invested. So I do feel very strongly about that. The other piece is just from my own context for my day job. Like, I know that you and I, Bettina, worked together on a short film that my man actually directed. Where like the main resource for the shooting location was because I knew the guy who owned like the deposition office. So I've done like I've probably done like 500 or 800 depositions in my life, where I'm like questioning people, and because I have a really good relationship with that deposition office, I was able to just call them up and say like, hey, can we use your space? Not for a deposition, but to like shoot a movie. And they were like, sure, absolutely, because I've known them for years and they know my office for years. And so that was really fun, having like free reign over the entire office and the hallways.
The whole day.
For like 2 days, which was super fun. Using those resources. And I think you meet people everywhere and like all pieces of your life, and that was a fun experience. And then you meet people and they get excited. I find that people are very excited about making movies. And my old boss, same company but different managing attorney, was really excited. He was like, you've got to like write a character with my name, like make my last name the first name of a character. And just people get excited about making movies and they want to be a part of it because it's so magical and so it transports you. I know that's why I wanted to be in the movies, is because I just wanted to make them. And I feel really connected to something you said, Ekwa, about like applying to film school and not knowing how to make a movie. And I remember I almost applied to film school, and then I realized they wanted you to submit a movie in the application process. And I'm like, I don't know how to make a movie. That's why I'm applying to film school. Right. If I knew how to make a movie, I wouldn't need you. So I just remember thinking, like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I don't know. But yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's it's one of those catch-22 things. And I remember, I think it was my sophomore, third year or something in college when the Blair Witch Project came out, and it was this whole like, we made a movie for like $5, and it was like amazing. We won all these awards, and like the whole entire film school was on like, like repairing their reputation, going to every class and being like, listen, the reason that you pay us $1 million every year is because we're offering you access to blah, 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 like having to sort of justify, because everyone was like, I'm sorry, wait, what? I thought we were the ones who were supposed to be celebrities because we're paying you a lot of money. And I've taught at NYU too, and it's not true for everybody, but first of all, sorry NYU, but hey, it's out there, is more than double. I mean, it's been over 10 years since I was an undergrad. And the cost of undergrad is more than double what it was when I was in undergrad now. And so a lot of the students that I've taught, like, there's like this stress, boy, because unlike, say, the business school, nobody's coming to offer you a job when you finish. You will be standing at the front door looking at tumbleweeds, and everyone else is going to be going to everybody, like the medical school students or the whoever, they're the ones who get recruited for jobs. Right. Nobody comes to the film school to recruit for jobs. So you have to be spending that time like building yourself so that you're ready to go get a job once you finish. And at least when I was coming up, I don't remember anybody telling me that. That was something we had to learn the hard way. And yeah, and like I said, the kinds of jobs that are available are PA job. They're not the types of things that, like, once I do this one job, then my bills will be paid and I'll have extra cash. Nah, it's like a number of things, and they are construction labor type jobs where you are carrying stuff. It's a lot of physical labor. There's nothing glamorous about it, and it's hard because I remember having lecturers who would come in and talk to us about, like, well, when I had my first job on Broadway and blah blah, and it's like, that's not my reality at all. I'm a Black woman writing films about Africa. Like, nah, that's not where it's gonna happen for me, and it took me a while to realize that. Not that long, but it took a while to realize that, and then I moved on. Regarding, like, how I've been able to sort of put things together for my film shoots. Yeah, I mean, as Andrea said, it's completely the begging, the borrowing, it's the relationships that you have, It's not even the begging and borrowing, because if you didn't have a good relationship with the people at the deposition office, they'd have no problems telling you no, or at least making it hard, or making you pay for it, or something else. Regardless of how much people love movies and, and art, and the kind of being part, it's like being part of something. And in film work, it's really like a movement. Like, to see like 5,000 people show up at your location. I shot the last film that I shot a few weeks ago. I begged my boyfriend's auntie to let us use her apartment. She has this beautiful old Brooklyn apartment that has a lot of space for a New York apartment, and it's just old and cracked, and the paint's chipping, and it just has so much character, because his family's lived there for like 40 years. And I needed that to be our location, because the location itself said something about it, but she just didn't understand why we needed, like, she didn't understand how that stuff worked. So, there was a lot of sort of hand holding and like, yes, auntie, this is how things go. And I just want to let you know, there's going to be more than 5 people here. And it was like, we were like 15 people, and that was a slim crew. And then with our equipment, and then we all need to use the bathroom, and we all need to eat, and she was just like, whoa. But that's what it is. And you can't do that without having a relationship with somebody. That's not just, I mean, you can pay them, and I definitely support paying people, but sometimes it's not possible. I just do not have at least what you're worth, what your job is worth. I don't have it to pay you, but I'd still like you to work with me, and not everybody works with me, and not everyone's able to. A lot of people would like to. I think for a lot of people in our indie world here in New York, they understand what the struggle is, because everybody has a story that they want to tell, and we're all underfunded. If people are able to do it for free or for cheap or for barter or for deferment, or all the different, I'll do this for you and you'll do this for me, they will. And a lot of times it's also because people want to do something different than their boring advertising job or whatever. They want to do something creative. They want something different on their reel. I've had a lot of fabulous, talented people work with me for that reason. And then for people who aren't in film, filmmaking is a very hopeful activity. It's like, this isn't our reality, but we're making a reality, right? We're literally making a circus in the middle of Flatbush Avenue or whatever. Like, how exciting is that, that we can literally just have a completely different world. We could be in the 1840s all of a sudden. We could, all be whatever. And like, we can do something that's completely out of our normal, completely out of our day to day. I think that's a very hopeful thing for people, and I think it's one of the reasons that people just kind of glam onto us, and also glam onto the activity of filmmaking, and also like the idea of being an artist. As much as there are many people who don't envy my financial position in life, they they do, whether they say it or not, have some envy for the emotional and spiritual freedom that this work affords me. And that's something that I value deeply and I love about the work that I do, and I would like to share with other people. And I encourage people to support me in order to, so that they can also experience that. You know, we don't all have to work for horrible whatever, you know, or do things that there are ways that we can kind of expand our reality. And artwork is a huge way to do that. Wow. The end.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.